I'd always had a problem with drugs and alcohol. I guess the earliest indication would be the fact that I never really stayed in school. I would always skip and leave and do whatever I could to spend time with the people that I was comfortable around. And most of the people that I was the most comfortable around were also using. And this was when I was young. Didn't start until I was in my 30s, actually. I had always taken drugs and partied and drank too much. But when I was 30, I was diagnosed with a mental health condition, bipolar, and it caused auditory hallucinations. And I started self medicating to deal with that. During that time, I was homeless. I lived 4 years on the streets. I lived here in Lansing, Michigan. That's where I'm from. And I managed to keep a job and walk around with a bag full of clothes and not let people know what was happening outside of work. I guess the gift of surrender, I call it. I had been beaten down so completely by the experiences I had living in the streets that I couldn't tolerate any more pain. At that point, I was able to ask for help. I went to a detox center in Jackson, Michigan, and then I asked to be sent as far away from Lansing as possible. And so I ended up in Alpena and went to treatment there. I completed 90 days of treatment and stayed in outpatient therapy. I used the AA and NA program as well as various hobbies and work to reestablish myself. I was homeless, so I was staying in a shelter once I left treatment. And after a year of getting myself stable, I went back to work at the treatment center. I would tell this to the girls when I worked at the treatment center. I was willing to try any drug, so I was willing to try anything new in my recovery. I would do yoga. I had stained glass classes. I would sing. I would laugh with friends. I would enjoy my life, which I'd never experienced, not even before my active addiction. I reach out often when I need help. And sometimes that's just processing how my day went. I also have a very strong spiritual foundation now that I've learned in my recovery, so I can turn those problems over to what I believe is my higher power. And I feel free, and that helps me tremendously. I find that working with others seems to be a passion for me, and it keeps me sober as a mentor and also as a person who feels worthy, because I know what I'm doing is helping other people leave the situation that I was in. I wouldn't want anybody to have to live like that. Between that and my meetings and my close friends, my recovery has been very solid. That asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength. I use a tremendous amount of gratitude in my life today. And I think gratitude is like the action of thankfulness. So the more people I can help, the stronger I am in my own recovery. And I know many recovering addicts and alcoholics who feel the same way. For me, my success came in the day-to-day things that people take for granted. I was homeless for a very long time. So unpacking my clothes and putting them in a dresser was a tremendous thing. Getting an apartment, paying down my debts, being able to talk to my family again, being dependable. I think that prevention education is important because it helps relieve the stigma of addiction. I think that people most of the time assume something like that would never happen to them. I know that I didn't plan to have to be homeless and a heroin addict. I never planned that in my life. If you can understand the disease, you're able to heal yourself and do the things you need to do to not have to live that way. I think it's important for people to understand that they're worthy, that nothing that they did changes the fact that they're beautiful humans and deserve to be happy and healthy. I know when I was in active addiction, I didn't see that in myself, but I see it in the people that walk through the doors of the treatment center, even the people I see in the streets, and my heart goes out to them because they're loved even if they don't know it. We pray for people in active addiction daily. Once I was off the streets, as you would say, and I put down the drugs, that's when the work really started for me. I had to find somewhere safe to live. I couldn't sleep in garages anymore. I couldn't live like that anymore. For me, I was very fortunate to find a shelter. It never made sense to me. I would try and get better. I would go to detox and treatment, and then I would leave and I would be exactly in the same situation I was when I walked through the door. The aftercare or the beginning of the recovery stages is so vital. It's so important to have those things in place. I don't think I lasted days or even hours sometimes because I was hopeless, and I didn't have the resources I needed to get my life back in order. This one's very personal for me. My son is in active addiction. So over the years, I've learned to love him with boundaries. I've forgiven myself for any mistakes that I think I've made, because having lived through active addiction, I know that it's no one else's fault. These are the decisions that we make, and treat yourself kindly and seek support. Al-Anon's a very good resource for that. And never stop losing hope. I think that happens a lot to us. We start feeling downtrodden, and then anger comes and we detach. But as long as you love and seek help for yourself, it can get better.